Hello, everyone. It's Q again, and welcome to YouTube's most underproduced, poorly produced Amiga channel with a focus on the various graphics software. Yes, I do sometimes dive into the hardware and other quirks of the system, but today is going to be another Lightwave basic video. Not done one in a while, and I wanted to try and create a relatively short one. Hopefully this won't be too long. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Again, this is using my Amiga 1200 using 3.2, and I've got the 2 megs of chip, the 68060, the TF1260 running here, and I've got some Eagle Player jamming in the background. So go ahead and fire up Lightwave. Again, I'm trying to get through this faster than I normally do. And we're going to go up here. And again, I'm skipping a lot of steps because if you've watched my other videos, so you already know how to do the basics now, back from the earlier videos, right? So we're just going to load a scene. I'm going to go to my Tron. We're going to load up Blue LC version 001. So load that up, and what we've got here is something I kind of teased last time with the Tron tank, but it's my light cycle that I modeled. I wanted to show stuff that I've actually created so I could actually have some pride in showing content and being like, don't look what other cool things people have done, look at stuff I've done. Now granted, this was a long time ago and I don't really touch modeling anymore. So when you look at this here, we first load this up, and yeah, let's get the big overview. We'll go to the perspective view, and then we can go to where it says mouse move, right click and hold in here, and you can move the mouse and the view up and down so you kind of get a God's eye overview. And then you switch this to rotate, and if you left click hold, you can now get a nice rotation, and so it gives you a good idea of what's going on in the world. Just a nice overview. And you can see there's this wall I've made back here, there's the light cycle, and this line here is part of the ground. And if you keep rotating around, we probably even find the camera. So there's the camera over there, and look, if I go to camera, you'll see it show up, and it's kind of cool. It shows you what it's going to look at. So I'm just kind of trying to get a lay of the land. Trying to get the feel for the land with words of English I'm failing to understand. Anyway, this is neat, but we need more than just one wall here. So I'm gonna. That ding you heard. That was like the light bulb going off in my head, and I was like, oh man. I totally, I have an idea. So that's why you heard that ding. And what I want to do is I want to clone this wall, because if we go back to the camera view, you can kind of see the wall here. And if I click on camera and rotate, and again, we're on frame 0 here. So if I look over here, it's like, well, there's the wall, it's over there, and here's our light cycle. I mean, I kind of like how this light cycle is framed in the camera view. And what you're seeing here, I don't know how well this shows up, but you see this weird line here and this weird kind of line here and this kind of squished blob. This is what they call their NTS safe, or their safe preview. This is letting you know when you actually render this image what you're going to see, what the camera is seeing. The camera, if you render the image, the camera is not going to see this entire square here that you're seeing, okay? It's only going to see what's inside these lines, and that's because under camera, I'm doing a custom size. So you've got the basic resolutions, which are presets, okay? There's not a lot of presets here, by the way, as you can see, but you're not limited to just what Lightwave gives you for camera resolution. And when I say camera resolution, this is like your digital camera that you take pictures with. There's 1 megapixel, 2 megapixel, 3 megapixel, 10, 12, 14, 56 megapixel. That's what I'm talking about when I'm referring to this. I've typed in a custom size, and what I've done here is a width of 400 and a height of 180. And so you can see it down here. And there's also a limited region turned on. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm actually going to turn that off, okay? And so now we're just dealing with a much more simpler 400 by 180 camera. Now that's weird, right? That's not really square, and I guess it's kind of rectangular. Why am I doing that? Well, what I'm trying to produce, as you can see here, is a more cinematic aspect ratio, something that looks a little more like you might see on a movie screen, like a 16 by 9, for example, right? 16 by 9. So that's what I'm doing here, and that's what this preview is showing me. If you hit the D key, if you hit the options button and you go to layout view, you can show, it'll show you right here. Where is it at? Yeah, so show safe area. So if I uncheck this and then hit continue, see that little blob in the middle? That safe area went away. So that safe area that you saw, that blob in the middle, that's for if you're going to be playing this on a classic NTSC television set. So turn it back on. It's letting you know that because old TVs curved on their sides and you didn't quite see, like, you know, you have a 1084 monitor or a 1084S monitor, there's areas that go outside the viewing. So this is trying to show you, like, hey, be careful, if you render over here, someone's crappy old CRT TV might not see what you're rendering over here. So I know I just kind of looped to irrelevancy in my topic on covering safe areas because I'm not rendering this for a TV. And then when I described to you guys what this was showing us, I was trying to tell you this is what the camera sees. I guess that was still correct, but now you just see there's a dashed line here and another dashed line here. This is what the camera's going to see, and that's all I care about. You don't need to have this on unless you're actually rendering for content to go on to a CRT and you want to be sure you're not getting into the CRT zone. You can leave that unchecked and have a little cleaner view here. So looping back. I'm not going to stop the video. I'm not going to edit that out. You saw my thought process unfold. Maybe you understand this whole feature set better now. We're leaving it in. So, getting back to my point, this damn wall. I want another wall. So, object, find the wall. And I'm not going to use the hotkey because I want you guys to know where everything's at. So I'm going to hit clone wall. It's going to make one copy of that wall. Click, hit continue. So now it's automatically not selected, so let's go down to the second copy. There's a little parenthesis 2. It does that for you. You don't have to name it, it just does it for you. And then now I'm going to move it on just the z-axis. So what I'm doing when you say move on the z-axis, so what's happening here is now that we know the wall is selected, and we can go to the perspective view to give you a little better idea of what's going on here. Now that you know the wall is, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's go to view, buddy, and rotate the view. Now that you know the wall is selected, you can move and rotate it on just a locked axis, so that when you left-click hold in the viewport and you move your mouse around, you don't have to worry about it going in all directions at once. You can just say, only move on the z-axis. So right now, as you can see, I'm left-clicking, and even though I'm in this perspective God's eye view, it doesn't matter, because you can animate these objects in any of these views. I'm left-clicking on the screen somewhere, and just moving this on z-axis only, so it's kind of locked down. And I'm basically going to put it so that it merges in with that other wall. And if we go back to the view edit mode and rotate around, you can get a better idea, like, okay, that's cool, but now you can kind of see at this perspective angle, like, that's a lot of wasted wall we're not going to see because it's behind the other wall, right? So let's go back to object, and I'm going to switch it to the x-axis only. And you can see these axes labeled here on the grid, by the way. So here it says Z, and then it says X, and then Y. Again, this is Lightwave. It's not like most engineering programs where Z is up, Y is up in this program. So we'll move it, and then I'm going to slide it again, just left-clicking anywhere and holding, and then moving the mouse button on X to kind of get this slid over. So now when we go back to the camera view, and I'll go back into the camera editing mode, yeah, now I've got this kind of boxed in, and so now we can see our little Tron guy in there. And again, this video is more of a, you've watched the other videos, I've given you some of the basics of getting objects into Lightwave and how saving objects and saving scenes are different and what lights are and what the camera is. So I just wanted to make this video to show a thought process because I wanted to do a render. Originally I was going to do a render for the art contest that Doug was putting on for his amazing YouTube channel, by the way. But this just turned into me, like, honestly having to relearn the Amiga version of Lightwave a bit because it's been so long since I've been in it. And I wanted to make a video just show, instead of submitting this to the art contest, I wanted to just make a video showing how, how I might do something, how I might create a scene for you guys, well, for me, and then I would show it to you guys. So here we go. This is how the craziness happens. So now that I've got that wall there, and again, I'm trying to visualize all of this with this 3-color, light gray, darker gray, camera view. And I know for some of you that are younger, this might be hard to visualize what this might look like when it renders and looks complete. But you kind of have to use your imagination for sure. So I'm going to, again, what I'm doing here is I'm manipulating the camera to try and get us like a nice, that looks kind of nice. We've got the light cycle over here, and you know, it's you know, balancing the frame nicely with the little 7 that's in the wall here. So I'm really starting to like this. So one of the first things I'm going to do before I forget is go up here and say save scene. It's because what we've done here is we loaded this up, and I've cloned this wall, I've manipulated the camera, and I've made those changes. So those changes, anything that's animation, that is saved with the scene. So we're gonna go save scene, and I'm gonna overwrite the version 1. That's fine. Even it asks you, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna overwrite that. So there we go. We've saved that. So now, if I screw anything up or the Amiga crashes, we're covered. I've got that stuff saved. So we're good there. Now remember, if I change the color of the light cycle, if I change the color of the wall, I would need to also save the object. And again, that's from my other videos. That changes to the colors of the objects in the scene. That's not saved with the scene. That's saved with the object, okay? The scene is just going to save the animation and like the lights and any kind of effects and saving settings you have, or render modes, or like if it's going to be, you know, AGA or regular ham, or if it's Picasso, you know, that kind of thing. So again, check out my other videos, my playlist, all my Lightwave basics. They cover that stuff. Maybe not well, but again, the most underproduced, poorly produced Amiga channel on YouTube. Anyway, so this looks nice, and what I'm going to do with our powerful TF-1260 is, for now, I am going to leave trace shadows on, ray tracing the shadows. This is the kind of more advanced ray tracing method, more realistic, where the, this is our light, by the way. Let me click on the light so you can see our little light here. This is basically a sunlight. It's called a distant light. You know, it looks like a spotlight, but it's not. It is actually a distant light, and it's simulating like a sun source. When you ray trace it, it's going to be, it's a much slower method, but it's more accurate. So everything gets occluded properly, and you get nice, tight, sharp shadows. And in this case, the nice, tight, sharp shadows has a nice retro look, which is kind of what I want to go for with this Tron render. So enough I've been talking here. Let's hit the F9 button and see what we can render up here. And so Lightwave's going through and it's doing all of its processing, and now here you can see it's chewing on the polygons. And again, I'm showing this to you in real time while the mod music plays in the background. And once again, I apologize. I can't hear what it is because I keep my speakers off so that I don't get the double audio feedback loop craziness. Hopefully it's not some annoying mod. I thought I deleted most of the annoying ones, but I apologize if it is like some screaming one or something obnoxious. Hopefully it's a fun one. So here comes the walls. The light cycle's looking pretty cool. Even in black and white, it looks pretty cool, huh? The light cycle, I like it. I like the light cycle. It is good. I like the light cycle. Show me your light cycle, please. There's our 7. And now we're going to see our amazing Ham 8. I love Ham 8. It looks so good. I can't believe the Amiga. Oh, it's just so gorgeous. So there we go. We have this awesome kind of retro line art look going on. This is something I painstakingly, when I made these walls and objects, I kept that in mind. I wanted it to look retro. I wanted to have that kind of old school wireframe plus the shaded look. And yeah, this is looking really, really pretty. It looks like Tron. So there we go. That looks great. There's a couple things, of course, we could do. We could turn on the anti-aliasing to smooth those lines out, and we might in a second. But one of the things I wanted to do as well is one of the things that is kind of missing that Tron had was that kind of glow effect. Everything has like that nice, like glowy aura around it, and we can do that here under the Effects tab. You go to Image Processing, and you just enable Glow Effect. And the default is like 50%, 8 pixels. And I'm going to leave that for now. What's important to know is that this 8 pixels here is relative to the camera resolution. So if you, and I think I described this in another video, if you set this to 8 and we're rendering 400 by 180, and you're happy, you're like, the glow looks good. That's the kind of glow I want to see. And then you switch this to like 800 by 360, that glow doesn't scale up automatically. So the glow will look smaller. So if at this resolution you're happy with the thickness and the width of the glowy effect, the fairy looking glowy, Disney glow effect, it doesn't scale up with the camera resolution. So, well, what do I do to fix that? Well, what you need to do is you need to kind of keep track of the math in your head. This is why you should keep it simple, right? And just, if you want to render a larger image, double both of these numbers. Don't start getting crazy with different numbers. So when you come over here, all you need to do is change this from 8 to 16 or 32, respectively. You can just keep increasing it that way. And that way you'll maintain a even relationship of the glow effect to the camera resolution. So you can get caught on that. And alternatively, if you're rendering it at 8 pixels, camera 400 by 180, and you like it, and then you decide, ooh, my Amiga doesn't have a 6806 in it, this is taking too long, I'm going to lower this to 200, and then this down to 70, whatever it would be, because math bad, it's half of 180, dude, jeez. What'll happen is that glow will now be too big. It'll be too bloomy and glowy and crazy. So I'm going to use the default that it was at, because I think that's probably going to be okay, because I do want kind of excessive bloomy, glowy glows happening and everything. So let's go ahead and hit the render button again and see what this is going to look like. So again, it's going to go through the render process here and chew on those polygons. We're going to light cycle. Here comes the ground. This is, considering, the 16060 Amiga is fast. It really is fast. But this is getting into, there's a lot of polygons in here, and we're ray tracing shadows. You got to realize, back in the old Amiga days, you often did not ray trace. That was kind of considered blasphemy and wasteful. You always use spotlights, which use much faster shadow maps, which are kind of a simulated shadow effect, and it is much faster. But ray tracing looks so cool, and usually ensures nice clean pixels and good tight shadows, and I just like it. Heck, we have a 6860, so why not use it? So here we go. We've got the 7 drawing in again, the walls drawing in, but we don't see the glow, right? But then watch what happens here. Oh, here comes the glow. You see it showing up as this like pass. It even tells you down here, applying glow effect. So now you can see this glow coming across the floor. It's kind of lightening it in this preview. So what's that going to actually look like in the render? So there you go. It's subtle. But if you look, you can see there's this subtle kind of glowy edge along the wall here, and it even bleeds over into the light cycle a little bit. It kind of gives the light cycle a little glow effect. Now, you can increase this effect, this glow effect, by going to that number, that pixel number of 8, and you could double it to 16. Or you could increase the intensity of what's already here. Let's say you like the thickness, like you don't want 16 because it would be twice as tall. It'd be like way up in the top of the wall. You're like, that's too much. But what maybe you want is you want this glow to be more intense. Well, that's why they give you the intensity. So I'm going to show you another feature of Lightwave. I could go in here and I could adjust the intensity again. And we could sit through another render again, and while it only takes about 50 seconds or so, if you're getting into the nitty-gritty where you're starting to play with features like this and you want to see a result quickly, this is what the feature called limited region is for. And to get to limited region, you smash the L button, okay? You saw that screen flash yellow, watch. See that yellow? So click and hold the L key. While clicking and holding the L key, the left mouse button, click and grab the box. And now you're moving this highlight box. And it's really slow and clunky because that's just the way it is. What we want to do, I'm releasing the mouse button now, and I'm going over here without clicking the mouse button, and I'm still holding down the L. That's why this is yellow. And now I'm going to left click and click on the box line. And you got to click on the box line. And I'm going to left click and hold and drag. I'm going to go over here. And what I want to do is I want to just see this little section. Now I'm going to let go of the mouse button, I'm going to let go of the L key, and now you see this faint little box here. What's going to happen now when we render is it's only going to render what's in this little area instead of the entire image. So when I go here and I go, enough of this 50% glow, I want 100% glow. Now I hit F9, instead of having to wait for that whole frame, we're going to just get this little preview area, and obviously it's going to be much faster. So this is a very useful feature when you're wanting to just tweak one little area of your render. So here you go. You can see it actually renders the glow outside of the preview area, but that's just the way it is. But see, now you can see that this is a hotter white color to it. And in fact, this kind of blurry blob you're seeing that's outside the area that we selected to render kind of gives you an idea of how wide that 8-pixel glow really is, because that's kind of a preview of it. But now you can see that that glow is a lot more intense and a lot hotter. And that's cool. This is also another great way to maybe try another feature that you don't want to wait for full frame. We go to camera, I'm ray tracing shadows because they give those nice pretty tight shadows, but I have ray trace reflection turned off. And of course, ray trace reflection would allow any of these shiny surfaces to reflect, to show each other, you know, like being a mirror. Like you could see the light cycle reflecting inside the wall or on the ground, and that would be kind of cool, but that's a very expensive feature. So again, I'm holding down the L button. I'm going to move this over here to the light cycle because I'd like to see if we'd actually see the light cycle reflecting it all in the ground down below. And there's not a lot here because remember, I'm using a really wide camera. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to bring this down a little bit more so we're not having to render too much. And let's see if that light cycle actually will reflect in the ground below here. And instead of having to do the entire frame to see if that reflection looks really cool on the ground, we can do this one little part. And already, look, you can see how much slower it is. And we're just doing one little section, and look at this. It's just kind of, oh boy. That's what happens with ray trace reflections. You think shadows are slow. When you start getting into reflections, it's a whole other animal, because that's a lot of virtual pixels and light bouncing around the scene. And already you can tell, if you look closely and you zoom in there or squint, you can see that, yeah, indeed, we're getting a nice little reflection of the light cycle in the ground. Yep, there it is, right down there. Yeah, it does look pretty cool. I mean, it kind of gives a nice little modern twist to this Tron look. Now, of course, they didn't have ray trace reflections in Tron, so this would not have shown up this way. If they did have a reflection in Tron, it would have been something they faked through compositing or optical compositing or tricks like that, or even just drew it in by hand. So I'm going to turn off reflections because, yeah, that's going to be too crazy. But what we're going to do, again, holding down L and going over here, I want to go back to these, the wall and these jagged lines. So we've got the wall with the jagged lines here and the grid on the ground. I want to turn on the anti-aliasing. I'm going to go to enhanced low, okay, and I'm going to leave adaptive at 8. Again, I described these different modes in other videos, but this is kind of just like a nice low level, shouldn't take too long, but again, because we're using this really powerful feature of limited reason, because we're using this powerful feature of limited region, we can quickly see our results from turning that feature on. We don't have to wait for the entire frame. So again, very, very awesome feature. Try not to forget it when you get into tweaking things. Instead of waiting for the whole frame, you can very quickly see this, a preview of the area of your final frame. And as you can see, we're going through here. And what I'm trying to determine is this enhanced low enough anti-aliasing that our wall looks good and doesn't look like jagged, crappy lines that you can't really make out. And, well, ooh, yes, that's nice. So that's not bad. I mean, enhanced low is not, that definitely, I mean, you don't, before it was just that really harsh, almost two-color looking stair-stepping between light gray and white, purple and white. But now, yeah, you're getting like a nice blend of the pixels. And that's just enhanced low. That's one of the lowest anti-aliasing modes available. So, having seen that doesn't take that long, if you hit L, that doesn't turn it off. So you got to go back to camera, and where it says limited region here, you have to check it off there. Now you're good to go. So now, and we can hit F9, and now we're going to render the whole frame, because I want to wrap this video up because I've shown you a couple of really cool features, and I think it's time to wrap it up. I said I didn't want to make this too long, and I think this final render here will give us a nice looking image. I'll include I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? I'll include in the thumbnail this shot so that you can see it when I post it onto Facebook. So what's going to happen here is it'll draw, and again, we're not doing the ray trace reflection, but we are doing the ray trace shadow. And that's, you can see here, this little black blob under the light cycle. That's why we have this nice tight shadow. It doesn't have any kind of like shimmy or shimmery effects, or it doesn't look different shades of gray because we're not using the spotlight. Again, it's slower, and it's not faithful to the original Tron movie. They didn't have ray trace shadows, but I think it looks cool, and I wanted to leave it on. I think the reflections look really cool, but it is quite slow. It is too slow. We cannot use this. It is too slow. But this I can put up with. So what you're seeing right now is the anti-aliasing process, that enhanced low. This is it. It's going through the entire image now, and it is re-rendering the image effectively again based on that adaptive sampling threshold of 8 that we chose. So, you know, if the original frame without anti-aliasing took 50 seconds, that doesn't mean it's going to take, so if you look down here it says 2 of 5, that doesn't mean it's going to take 50 seconds 4 more times, you know, for a total of 5 of 5. That adaptive sampling threshold is a pixel mask. It's a way to say, don't re-render the entire image 5 times, only render certain parts of the image 5 times, only parts that are super kind of gross and noisy, like these lines and angles. So that's what that adaptive sampling number helps set. That's what it's for. And again, that limited region feature would allow you to experiment with that adaptive sampling feature to optimize your render times so you can decide how much quality you want in your image versus how long it's going to take. So instead of having to wait for the entire 5-minute render or 10-minute, heck, if you're an Amiga 500 stock, this would probably take 3 hours to render. So instead of doing that, you could use the limited region feature to just mask a little tiny area to figure out, okay, I'm going to use enhanced low with an adaptive sampling of 8 or 16 or 1 or 2. I mean, you have to figure it out for yourself. We're already on 3 of 5 right now, so this is coming along nicely. And one of the things I didn't do, kind of a faux pas here, I didn't set this image up to save. So one of the bummers about Lightwave on this version is that you can render an image, but if you do not set up the image to save in advance, if you don't set it up to save when you render, it doesn't save. It'll display it on the screen for you, and you can pull your cell phone out and take a picture, but it's not going to save it. You have to set up Lightwave to save your images first before you start getting into doing renders. And I didn't do that here because this is just for demonstration purposes, and although I do like this image and probably would like to save it, that is something you have to do. And I do cover how to save animations and how to save frames in my other Lightwave basic videos. But in this Lightwave basic video, which is more a Lightwave generalist's layout basic video on how to just load and create a nice little picture, a nice little 3D image to show your friends or pets, I didn't set up the save image part, and I didn't go over it again for you to see how to do that. And so I'm going to lose this image once it's done turning all of its little pixels here. It's kind of depressing in a way. It seems like that 68060 spent all of that time, all that energy, literal energy, electricity to render this image for us to look at, and then to be so quickly discarded with a couple of clicks of the mouse and the keyboard. It's tragic. I'm sorry, Amiga. I'm sorry, electrical power grid. But it still allows us to see a pretty image here, doesn't it? Being wasteful is naughty, but it also feels kind of naughty in the good way. I'm really trying to kill for time here, aren't I, as we wait for this to render. But as always, I really try to not edit my videos because I want you to be able to experience Amiga as it really is. And this is a 68060 Amiga. Boom! Here comes our glow! We're almost done! It's so exciting! It's almost here! It's almost here! Don't do that. Please don't do that. Yeah, sorry. There we go. Oh, look at that. I'll move my mouse pointer out of the way, so if you want to pull your cell phone out and take a picture or do a screen grab. You pretentious weenie. Really? No, I know. I'm sorry. So, Yeah, here it is. I think this looks really cool. This is, I mean, if this was a channel banner for somebody or an album cover, you could put the name over here. You could put Chris Edwards or Doug's face over here. Wouldn't that be great? Maybe you could put some pajamas on the ground. I don't know. Anyway, it's good framing. I like the way this is framed. The composition's fun, and we have we have a nice little Tron thing going on here. It's cool. And sadly, as soon as I click the button, boink, it's gone. That took 5 minutes and 21 seconds. You had to listen to me blab for 5 minutes and 21 seconds. So, yeah, if I had gone to record tab and, said save RGB images and picked an image format, I could have saved that image, and I'd have it right now, but I didn't. I am going to save the scene, though, because I made some more changes, and I want to make sure that is saved. So, I thank you for watching. I hope you learned something with this Lightwave general basic type video. You kind of got to see my process and how I go through and create a quick, simple Lightwave scene. And I hope it inspires you to maybe fire up the program and load up some of those the free content that it comes with, and you can position objects and move the camera and set up lights yourself. All right, everybody. Until next time, this is Q. Goodbye. I really need to work on a sign-off. I don't have a sign-off. Doug has that really cool, finger thing, and Edwards, of course, has the hope you learn something. I mean, it's just, I have nothing. I really have, it's almost like the final episode of Sopranos where it